Yo. What's up, guys?
That is a great shot of Yagro. Hi. Hello.
Oh, I'm going to the Genuine Games YouTube channel. Oh, we're live. Oh, we're sort of live. Discussion music. You could just do the normal one and just quiet. Like it just makes talking nice. I don't know. Oh God, we're gonna talk about Battle Pass. Oh boy.
I just scrolled past that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Little music guy. Okay.
They can hear us on stream right now, by the way.
Yeah.
All of our
Yeah,
viewers.
you guys are all on stream. You guys aren't. Your webcams are not. Though.
On your best behavior, Xander says.
Okay.
Wait, Xander, are we going to talk about how you said you wanted to charge $1 million per copy of the game since Unity?
It's the only way
Yes.
we can afford it.
Exactly.
So we want to reduce so there's no installs of the game, but we make the most money per install.
1 billion per install. We're racing world first billionaires.
And then we can stay under that threshold, so we don't actually have to pay anything. So it actually will help us, the new rules.
Okay. Cool. All right. So real quick, I just wanted to mention that I added a little section to this early access progression system goals, which was in this big progression doc. Like what I think the simplest, easiest thing we could target for. Oh my god, my computer's freaking out. We can target. So I think having like an account level, having the account level up is relevant. It should not be tied to the device if possible, so that if people log in through different computers, if we do it through Steam, maybe it's tied to Steam accounts. I was thinking just off the bat, we can just have this be a level of the sum of all the character levels. We can look into how our XP works. There probably won't be any milestone rewards. And then there'll also be character levels. It would probably be a lot less than what we actually want. Like I mentioned below, I wanted like 50. This would be like 20. It wouldn't probably have rewards every few levels. Give us an idea of how long it takes people to get to 20, and then we can extrapolate that for level 50.
So are you going to go through the highlight and then we'll talk in each one, or should we just ask questions there?
This is almost over, and then we can talk about it real quick, and then I'll move to the other one. If that makes sense. Yeah. So then for rewards, I was thinking just keeping them really light and simple. And one key thing is like we can postpone rewards to the official launch. So like my idea is something like profile icon, emotes, something super simple. You get one if you max a character, so there's one for each character, and then you get one if you max every character, and then you get one for participating. So I guess the key takeaway would be like it's not something that we necessarily have to give out right then, as long as we like track it and then eventually give it out when the game is like season 1 or whatever the other thing comes out is. I think XP boost and like double XP weekends would be good as well. Yeah, stretch goals. I think gold cards, if we can get that system working, would be interesting to prove out at this point, but I don't think it's necessarily needed. Anyone have any thoughts on this? It's pretty short, so it's all part of the huge big doc.
Is this the minimum we're looking to hit for February?
Yeah.
Question for the gold cards.
Mm-hmm.
Can we start with a couple per character? I think that's viable. I don't think we can have them all, but we can do a couple per character.
Yeah, I think like if we just have like a couple that kind of helps prove out the system, I think that would be worthwhile to go for.
Because eventually we want one for every card, but I think we can start with like UpperCut, and we have jab or whatever. We could be like UpperCut and jab, and then every character just has 2 cards, and
Yeah.
get them on like level 10 or level 20 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like one of the main pressure, one of the main option cards probably.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think something like that would work well. But yeah, I think the key things is like we could delay rewards as long as we track the data, and we don't necessarily have to give them anything right then, but say we will or something. And then also I think XP stuff to help drive engagement, like on certain weekends or like the launch week or stuff like that. All right.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Is how long do we want? We have to start thinking about like how long it takes to get to, say, like if there's 50 levels, how long to level 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you know, like how many hours roughly, or how many games have you
Yeah,
played?
that's why I was thinking like, yeah, like, you know, keep the levels a little bit lower. You know, we want people maybe trying to try out every character and maxing them out, and then we can extrapolate roughly how long those hours take to 20, and then, you know, to 50 when we like want the full, you know, the full progression thing I listed out, where it's like this and then all the gold cards and stuff. Are we interested in tracking any
Yes, Brian.
profile stats at all? Yes.
Yeah, Jason was literally looking into that today. So yeah.
At the very least, we would be tracking it. Not sure if we would have all of it like displayed readily, but yeah, we want to be
but we
tracking
need it for the community clash. At least wins, losses, in matches. Whatever,
Some of
like,
it will
for
probably be
community clash
displayed.
meets and stuff like that. But then we probably need to like have a list somewhere of things like, hey, like time played, number of times that they opened the thing, number of matches they played, like per session. You know, there's always like good metrics like that.
Yeah, I'll probably in the coming months make a whole like telemetry data tracking doc and talk about like all the things that might want.
Can we track how many people
Yeah,
install the game?
I think Unity will do that for us.
Nice.
But yeah, but there's also like other things that we can think about, like the basic ones that we always want. But there's also stuff like, oh, how long do people wait on queue before they stop the queue, or how long do you know that kind of thing?
Yeah,
I think
no,
is
those are
also-
great. Average queue times.
Yeah,
any-
retention, stuff like that. If they leave after like 2 matches, or like, I know that a lot of
Ping,
games trying
yeah.
to figure out what happened when they left. As in,
Yes.
did they run into a bug? Did they just get tired? Did they already play 3 games and they're fine? Did they finish their daily missions? You know, like it's obviously those are way harder to track, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main ones are going to be for me would be like you said, Alejandro, when they stop, did they stop in queue after it's been too long, or is it like after a loss, like 2
Yeah.
losses, or is it after like a really long match, that kind of thing, or if it's like super one-sided.
Yeah, and again, and some of them we're fine with. If it's like, hey, if they play like 2 long matches and they're tired, that's fine. You know, like, but if it's like, oh yeah, they lost 3 times in a row because our MMR system is bad, then yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, and to that point too, like tracking the character levels, like I don't know, so maybe people like play Brawler, level it up to like 10, and then they quit and they don't like try any other characters or something. Like, you know, getting that kind of data, I think, will be useful as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to like parse some of that data too and correlate that data to like actual the events that you're talking about as well, because it's talking about statistics versus telemetry as well, and so telemetry is a little bit different, and being able to like actually get a crystal clear picture at like, oh yeah, well they did quit out of matchmaking because of these are the reasons. So I think we'll have to extrapolate on that a little harder.
Yeah.
What I
We
meant,
definitely
like,
won't
when
like
we have
know
up-
for sure, and we don't want to shoot ourselves too and like make assumptions either.
Yeah.
So
All I'm saying is that when we make it,
we gotta be smart with it.
Yeah, we could put the AC pickings first, where like wins, losses, whatever, but then have like the stretch goals, like, hey, these are things that would be nice to have, and then we can figure out how we actually track it.
Yep, definitely.
Oh, some of the I think so. I don't know if this is statistics they're telling me, but either way, some of the things we should track too is, like telling ways players can improve, is eventually going to be something we'll start to be able to add. So that's what Lowell was also mentioning is when people quit, it's a lot better user experience if it's like, hey, we noticed you didn't move. Try moving. Or like, we noticed you didn't play, you didn't block on any option card. Like, helpful tip, like that kind of thing. That way people will, be like, oh, okay. There's like mini coaching inside the game, but it won't be super handheld. It'll just be like something more so telemetry based. Like, you played 80% pressure cards versus the standard 50% or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
You could like tailor the tips that we show like during like loading screens or like at some point like it shows the tip on like how to improve or something. So,
Yeah, and those things are kind of cool too, right? Because it shows in your profile status. Once we start collecting this too, we can give them like little what's it called accolades, like you're a rush down player. You know, you move forward more than you move back, kind of thing.
We can also send them an email or call them at the houses. Be like, yo, this is what's wrong.
All I heard was we have to call them at their houses.
Yeah. So we can either send them an email or
Yeah.
we just call them and we give them the tips. Like, dude, so to improve,
Send them an email.
Wasn't there, Nintendo did that. There was a hotline to call.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah,
have
but
a
they don't call
hotline
you.
if it's too
They don't
busy.
call you.
It's a premium service. That's a premium service.
yeah. If you have the battle pass, we offer personalized tips.
I think there'd have to be a super
No,
battle pass for
The
that.
super
No,
battle
that's-
pass, we come to their
Hey,
house.
that's not breaking privacy. We purposely collect all your
Yeah, but
information.
an
in the
anonymous
store.
call. It's
Yeah.
an anonymous call. We don't know who you are.
Dev coaching sessions.
Okay, sorry.
It's a terrible,
Like,
amazing idea.
Alright. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about, which this is more of just a talking point and discussion and some brainstorm stuff, but I want to talk about pacing and intensity in our game right now. This is a pretty good article, if you guys want to read it, by former EA THQ director. It talks about like pacing and, oh my god, what does this pop up?
Yeah, this page is like 90% ads.
Yeah, well, I used it with ad blocker, so I didn't look at it on Chrome last time. But yeah, it talks about pacing in like movies and games and stuff, so it's worthwhile to kind of reference some of the stuff in here. Kind of a brief overview. We're a multiplayer game, so we kind of get some of this for free just by playing against other players. There's some unpredictability and like skill relevance there already, instead of it being like a campaign, like a single player mission. It helps people helps keep people engaged throughout the match and not lose interest like in the middle of a match. Adds some needed unpredictability that becomes more predictable with skill and knowledge of the game. Replayability adds interesting decisions and ways to play. Allows people to get ahead and stay ahead, or encourages comebacks when you're behind, and helps aid in creating a unique story for every match. Makes each game feel more unique. Makes something exciting happen that you tell your friend about, or whatever, like something that doesn't happen normally, right? It's like current issues, I'd say, is the game can feel kind of static. The matchups can get kind of stale. You can't really punish opponent plays too hard right now. There's low skill expression. There's lack of depths and ways to play. That's pretty much only frame incentives at the moment. And there's a bit of lack of interesting decisions. The main decisions are basically just what cards do I play. There's a little bit of like when or saving cards at the moment because we don't have the recycling, but overall I think there could be some help. So this is just a list of brainstorm of ideas. I guess I could skip down to the bottom. So alright, so I guess the high level things, there's like an ultimate idea we've been talking about. Ultimate bar, ultimate cards, card upgrading system. So this was like a whole separate thing that I think Mickey pitched a while back. I think it's a little bit too involved, so this is like a lot simpler version of that. Signature card upgrading is kind of mixes ultimates and card upgrading together, and then special moves like tech cards, which is basically the pre-round choice doc that we have here, and then also just adding more characters. Alright, so
Perfect.
what's up?
What would be the difference between the special move and the hero power in this situation, right?
Which ones?
Like
Oh,
the tech.
the
card
ultimate
and
or?
no, tech
Oh,
card. Because we already have a way of like picking your hero power. Obviously, it doesn't make sense, for example, for tower. So it's like, well, you're not supposed to play tower without picking turnaround. You know?
yeah. So
You know what I mean?
I think it would. I mean, I can just start from here. So this one, the idea is that you would pick between like choose between a few moves to put into your deck at the start of the match, and cards could have like multiple copies even too. So it's things to help cater yourself to the matchup. I think hero power is something that will stay relatively low power because it's something like free and you always have access every turn. Whereas this would be a card that gets shuffled in your deck and has a bit more power to it, and so there's, you might not necessarily even draw it like when you need it, but also
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's enough of this.
yeah. I'm reading Brian's message. Agree the game is need help with pacing and intensity, but I do worry that a lot of these features are a bit expensive in terms of time and complexity. How much time do we have to implement one of these, say, compared to walking? Yeah, so this is clarity is in forefront right now. So like we're spending the next month-ish, or I don't know, like the rest of September essentially, working on clarity stuff. This was just kind of get a discussion going, and then we can figure out like which of these do we want to do. Like if we want to just try one of these, or it's not definitely not something like we're trying all of them. Like these are just kind of ideas, and figure out which one that we want to go with. And as with everything, same with like frame incentive, they're still essentially being tested. Like we could always go back on them and change stuff. To that point too, I think they are worthwhile as like potential season things too. So it's kind of long-term stuff as well. Like we could launch a new season with like a whole new mechanic kind of thing to try that and see how that goes, and then the season after that we could go back on it or pull it from the game until we change it. Like I don't know, a reference towards like Hearthstone Battlegrounds kind of does this between their seasons, and their types of matches throughout the seasons like change a lot. Like they'll take away like complex mechanics like quests or like the really crazy high intensity things. They'll pull those back when they add in a new tribe and like let that settle. So it's something like that we could do where it's like, oh, we're gonna add a new character, so let's take away some of these things and then like let the dust settle with this new character added into the mix, and then once we feel that's in a good place, then we can bring back something or try something new, or bring back one slightly different. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get this discussion started earlier. Okay, so one of the main ones that we've talked about is like an ultimate bar card system. So this is very much tied to fighting games. It adds the ability to create a powerful card or cards by spending from a resource bar. So you have some kind of like ultimate bar underneath your health bar somewhere, and that charges based off various mechanics such as dealing damage, successfully blocking, potentially other things like just playing cards or doing actions or hero powering at like minute levels. There's a little more just flair on it, VFX and whatnot. Could have like 2 to 3 segments. These are all optional. It could just be one ultimate bar. It fills up. It allows you to play the card. Great. Could have 2 to 3 segments. Ultimate uses like 1 segment, and then there's a super ultimate. Obviously needs a better name, but that uses like all of the segments. Average.
If we do the second idea, in order to like reference fighting games better, I think most fighting games, well, not I don't know most, but a lot of fighting games, they either have like a 1 segment like baby power, a 3 segment like big power, but what they also do have is like a 1 segment reversal or counter. So if we want to go simple, we can have like, hey, the 1 segment thing, everyone has the same thing, which is like a counter or reversal, and then the 3 segment one is your big power. So that we don't have to like come up with like 3 attacks for every character. We can just be like, it's a reversal plus your big power.
Yeah, I think that can work well. Like the one segment thing is similar. It would definitely want to be similarly powered across all characters, and then the
Mhm.
bigger one would be more like flare and
Yeah.
yeah, stronger. I don't have any examples. So I didn't really go into it too much, but I was, uh, 1 to 4 segments earned per match on average. So already there you get some variance in like how a match plays out. This is just some mechanics on how it could be spawned by the action overlay or the radial wheel, or if it's limited once per turn and stuff. But basically, it adds some interesting questions like, when will I use my ultimate? Should I save up more segments or just use like a 1 segment one? Should I use it proactively or reactively? Like, should I use it before my opponent uses theirs, or wait to see what they do? When will my opponent use theirs? All very interesting things, and I think that would just on its own change a lot.
I think like the biggest one for that though is, imagine like you're very close to finishing your bar, right? And then you're starting a new turn, and you know you're gonna fill up the bar. It's like we ran into the same situation that we had before, which is like, hey, if I land this first attack, I will have the bar to do the attack. Do we let them put the attack, or do they have to have the bar?
Yeah, I think
The previous turn.
you probably want to force them to have the bar. We could also have it
Yeah.
Increase every turn by a little bit as well. So, but in the same way, yeah, if you don't have it at the start of your turn, you don't have it. But maybe if you're right on the edge, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna run away a little bit until I can get this, and then or try to hit and get out just till I can get this, and then I'll try to finish it. Or
yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot more in terms of because if there's an ultimate card, I want there to be predictability around having it, right? It's not like, oh, I hope I draw it because I'm basing my style around this thing, right? So having it like, hey, once you build up, it just gets added to your hand. So it feels more like a fighting game, And then the card game is part of like,
yeah, I think definitely don't want it to be like, oh my god, I didn't draw my ultimate. Like that's just a super feels bad.
Yeah.
No. There's ways around that too.
For sure. But also the opponent needs to know that you have it, so that they can play around it.
Yes. Let me actually move this up. Alright, well actually that's fine. Alright, so for card upgrading, alright, that's basically it for Ultimate Bar. Card upgrading, so Mickey's system had like 3 upgrade levels and like downgrading and a bunch of stuff. I think that's probably too much. I think you probably only want like 1 to 2 upgrade levels per card and no downgrading. Throughout, it would interact with a lot of systems. I don't know what I was typing here, but I think it's a pretty good frame incentive. It works well with the frame incentive system, so having like, the card you played that frame, or the card you played on the frame incentive would get upgraded, and that adds more choice in what you play for that. Other card effects could relate to upgrading. One thing to note is this is better for the recycling card deck model, because you'd actually get to see your upgraded cards a lot sooner as they get reshuffled back in the deck, or you cycle through your deck quicker. Yeah, what's up, Yagi?
Yeah, so okay, I was thinking that this is like a very high effort to like do the card upgrade system, but what the goal is to make each game feel different, and then there's like progression within the side of the game, right? That's kind of the. So what if it was something like reusing a system that we already had? That was like you pick your frame incentive option, like what the thing is going to be, but you start with maybe it's not on any frame, and then the first time you land a hit on that frame, it gives you that frame incentive. So the next time you play a card there, so you could technically get all 6 option frame incentives or slots if you do that. But that way, it's like it feels like, oh, do I want to put? You could choose like that round. I want to play around frames 1, 2, and 7. But like, oh, I only landed hit on 1 and 2, so I'm going to kind of play around that the latter half of the match. But that way, it's like much more dynamic per matchup. But it kind of gets the similar thing done to the card upgrade system.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I also wonder too if we could upgrade the frame incentives themselves. Like that could be so not just increase the number of frame incentives, but like increase the magnitude of them too.
That's cool. Like if
yeah,
it's successful, or if you succeed the thing like 2 times, then it upgrades or whatever. That's how.
Yeah. So then there's sort of like a building up of like, oh, they're gonna keep wanting to like hit the pressure on this frame or whatever.
Yeah, I think something like that can definitely be interesting and work for increasing that, for adding scaling throughout the match. The one thing I would say, I guess, is that if it's like the frame incentive for every single frame, then I'm not sure how exactly that would go, but yeah, I think that could be, that's definitely an option.
I do have a question about the frame incentive. One of the original designs was to have the frame incentive be picked randomly every turn.
Yeah, I've pitched that as like even like a tavern brawl idea too or something. I think it would be something interesting to play with where.
But we never tested it. I'm not saying it's better. I just feel like it might be fun to try it out, because right now obviously you pick one and you're trying to work around it. The good thing about picking it is obviously you can start to read your opponent. You're like, oh, they always try to do this, or like they've been trying to do this thing multiple times, right? Whereas if it's random, there's no reading. It's just like, well, I don't know if they like the frame intensity in frame 1 or not, kind of.
Yeah.
But it sounds interesting.
I definitely, on a side note to this, I definitely think there's more room in the frame incentive system that we should test things out. I think we've kind of gone to the point too where we realize like frame 1 incentives aren't that good. People don't really like playing with that, and maybe in the same extent last frame 1. So like maybe we just block those out from being choices, or at least default it to like more middle frames.
To be fair, that's with our current characters. Maybe if we design characters later that are like, oh, attacking the first frame and then, recovery. Because a lot of our things are like option pressure option, or option pressure. If we have characters that are like more pressure option, then it might be more.
I totally agree. I think it's very kit dependent, and I think
the other thing too is actually I think people are playing the game differently already. Like the more we play, because I actually was like, oh, frame incentive in the beginning for brawlers not good. And I played more like, wait a second, no, I like it because what's that? The chop that gives you +2 armor. If you have the pressure incentive that has interrupt, that's actually could be pretty good.
Yeah,
because you can put it in the beginning, right? So
right.
I don't know.
And also
I
things
think
like a jab early, even to just have that be a 5 damage thing. Like there's some level of like there's something interesting about it. I don't know if it's like maybe too like I agree that we shouldn't default to having it be 1 or like 7, at least given what I saw at PAX, but I do think that we should leave the option to do that open, because I think that there are some interesting strategies that can come out of it.
Yeah, I think leaving it open is good. I think changing the default is probably I think that's what we're gonna do anyway.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Side note, yeah, we should probably change the default to be like either the middle or a default per character.
I mentioned this to Jason, even he's going in there and like updating that menu. So we should be able to test that out. Yeah, and then Yagi also mentioned the other day if we could try separating out the pressure and option incentive frames. So you pick the pressure one and you pick the pressure or the option one as well. So that's those are things. Those are iterations. Like I want to try like it changing each turn as well. Like that could be interesting. So these are things within that system that we should definitely try out.
I think originally we had that thing where it was like it was 4. In fact, 2 for you, 2 for the opponent. But then we thought like, okay, let's try with only 2 because overload.
Yeah.
Information overload.
It'll be a lot of the UI and the little indicators and stuff, and even those aren't the best. Also, the actual frame incentives themselves like could use some more love, like things like this makes your attack unblockable, or like some more interesting stuff, because right now they're at like a base level that was kind of applied to all of them, so there's not super interesting like crazy ones right now.
Yeah, to be fair, I actually thought that frame incentives specifically were gonna be like very character dependent. We're making them more like that anyone can use them, I guess. Like
Yeah, I mean
I
that
thought
that
they were
was
gonna be like very specific.
mostly just due to time constraints and the inability to like
Okay.
make those. Like, you know,
Mhm.
like Tower has pivot or you know, at turnaround as like
Yeah,
one of
Poison
his
has poison.
incentive. Yeah, and like Blizzard's the only one who has a root in theirs at the moment and stuff like that. But yeah, they all have like block and interrupt because I wanted to try that because I thought it would be pretty strong, but I guess it hasn't been that strong. So I don't know. It's just been interesting. Yeah, we definitely need to flex that system more. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Back to the upgrading thing real quick. Is just the questions, the good questions asked. You know, what cards should I try to upgrade this match, or if, you know, for this matchup? What cards have I upgraded and tried to like redraw again, or you know, what cards will my opponent upgrade, or which ones did they upgrade and I have to watch out for? Okay, and so then this idea kind of combines the ultimate card and upgrading, where there's only like specific cards in each deck that can be upgraded, no downgrading. Kind of think like champion cards from Legends of Runeterra. So there'd only be like 1 to 3 per deck or character. So like very signature cards, for instance, like UpperCut. You'd have like a global quest kind of objective to complete it, like so you don't. It's not related to like necessarily having the card in your hand or any other thing. Like you just from the beginning of the game you can be trying to achieve this. Ideas like land an unblockable during a block, or you know, more simple stuff, just like successfully block 2 cards, deal damage, take damage, etc. They would be shuffled in your deck like any other card. You know, we would need to show the info to the opponent in some way. An example of like UpperCut is it's a 3-frame move with like a recovery and, you know, move forward, does damage, and then possible, you know, optional upgrade paths as well, like deal 10 damage or land this attack on a block, and then it upgrades to like a 1-frame move that does more damage and, you know, has more power to it. These things can be like, we could force draw these after they're upgraded, so like after you complete the quest, like they get fetched automatically, so to kind of help alleviate the issue of like, oh, I didn't, you know, I never drew that card, or you know, 1 copy could always start in your hand, or after you upgrade it.
This one's pretty high scope.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty similarly scoped. What makes you think it's like higher than like the other card upgrading or ultimate bar?
It feels like, well, it seems like changing the cards, like there's more cards we have to design and like what they evolve to, as opposed to like an ultimate card. And then we also have to like have it so that the cards have to change when they load in as well, right?
What do you
So
mean?
like what happens if I don't know, it's gonna be like every card needs to be designed, I guess, with the card upgrade system. And then is that gonna cause a problem of like,
Oh, that's like this one where like essentially every card has like 1 to 2 levels. Yeah, this one is just like only, you know, like a signature card like UpperCut in your deck is the only thing that can get upgraded. But so you're saying like this one has a lot more scope, which probably, yeah, basically like doubles the cards in the deck. But this one would
yeah,
one will only
and
be
then the
like
signature
a
card
couple
upgrading.
or 1
I feel
even
like
or
that.
something.
Will that feel as good though as? I guess that's gonna be like, to me, it's gonna make 1 card feel good, but how much of your kit is designed around 1 card, right? I think I would want it to feel like more like an ultimate. If it's gonna be like, hey, 1 card feels different, well, like that 1 card should just be your ultimate to me, and it's much more like OP feeling, and it's completely separate.
Yeah, so I mean,
Even if it
you're
was,
just saying
like-
you like the ultimate bar idea, ultimate card idea better, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they
Yeah.
kind of go to.
I mean, these are
thing.
just ideas to get discussions going, right? So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
exactly. So I'm just like, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, it's like, I think I'm leaning more toward the ultimate now that I'm thinking about it.
And do we want to say our opinions at the end? Or...
yeah, we should. I'm almost done, so then
Yeah, okay.
we can just start discussing
sorry,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah. right at the bottom basically. Yeah, yeah, the same kind of similar important questions is like, how will I upgrade my card? Will I try to land this like maybe a harder, riskier option, or go for like the slow and steady one? And you know, what will my opponent do? Do I need to play around it? Kind of idea. Yeah. Okay, and then so pre-round choice. This one is basically like tech cards. Like here's a few examples. Like here's a brawler counter card. Like when you block, it reflects the damage back, or something that some of these were old from like what Mickey did, so I might need another pass. But you know, adds a route to help counter mobile people, or this one like fly to the spot adjacent to your opponent, so help, you know, close distance. Poisoner can have like you can add like a finisher card to your deck, you know, deal damage based off how many poisons they have, so a way to actually just burst them down. And then like they can have varying counts, like this one, this tuning needs to be adjusted, but something that deals higher damage and then hurts yourself as well, but you can put like multiple of them in your deck compared to only like, you know, one counter. Poisoner, like a special block. Let's see, tower, you know, more special block defensive card, or something that like this. I like this one a lot. Like face your opponent specifically, so you can't get outplayed by guessing wrong. And then other stuff like maybe he has a lot of armor related stuff and he gets hurt by poison and fire because that goes through that. So, you know, something that like helps counteract that. You know, non-combat damage you take heals your instead, or something like this where you wait and then you cleanse all your debuffs from yourself. Basically, cards that you could pick knowing the matchup, or even not necessarily knowing the matchup, just something you always like to have in that character. Like if we don't want to have it initially be based off seeing the opponent, you know, just as another drop down to pick, because you just really like playing with this card. Where am I at? That's kind of like, the questions would be, what tech card should I choose into this matchup? What card fits my personal playstyle the best? You know, when will I draw my tech card? What card did my opponent pick? When will they play it? All adds more, you know, mystery and questions through the match. Yeah, then we talked about this increasing frame incentive thing briefly. I can write some more about that later. And then the very bottom is just having more characters, I think would help, but that's not entirely a solution, but it does help hit some of the problems. Alright, that's the end. Now we can talk. Now discuss. Begin. I need to get some water. One sec.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. Just
Okay, yeah. So my initial thoughts from discussing this for a while is I 100% want the super bar because I feel like it's the easiest to implement and adds things to the game. And if we were to pick a second, it would be the tech cards, because again, designing an extra 1 to 3 cards per deck is not that high scope. We don't have to like do an upgrading system. We don't have to do any other stuff like that. It's just like, hey, well, we just add 1 to 3 extra cards to the deck. And from our today's discussion, I don't hate the idea of having the frame incentives get upgraded when you use them, but that's also like not too bad. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
cool.
I agree with
Yeah.
Alejandro and Yagi that like the super meter feels like a no-brainer. It's an intuitive thing for people who are kind of jumping into the game, and I think that that's great. I do think that like the upgrading cards ideas is a little bit in both of the forms, in both the like the simpler version and the, you know, more complex version, might be a little bit too high scope, and there's just going to be a lot of edge cases and stuff like that. I think if we wanted to do something around like upgrading the effects of cards, I think we should just only do it through frame incentives, because that's like kind of our, you know, system to achieve similar things. So either by, like Yagi said, increasing the number of frame incentives or increasing how they scale, but rather than increasing the cards themselves, like maybe everyone should know that like UpperCut should do, you know, whatever it is, like 8 unlockable damage, and that's just like the base all the time. So you're not like thinking, oh, which version of uppercut do I have? Like, is it upgraded? And then you can like, you know, do like a modification based on the frame incentive if we wanted to like change the effect. But I agree that like I think the ultimate bar is like a good idea. And I mentioned in the chat that like maybe you could kind of like upgrade a frame incentive using one of your meter charges or something for that turn. Like it I don't know, you use a part of your bar and then the frame incentive itself is upgraded for a little bit and it becomes like an EX move or something like that, or an equivalent from other fighting games, or other things. I also do agree that the you know, the tech cards or like pre-round choice is also a good idea too. So basically my input is that I'm kind of just most against the upgrading of cards than anything else.
Yeah, I for what it's worth, I also think Ultimate Bar and like tech cards are pretty much like the easiest wins. I think this system is pretty straightforward, and we always get people asking about more deck building aspects, and that kind of helps lean into that a little bit, I think. And then Ultimates are super thematic for fighting games. I kind of just threw in these card upgrading things because they were old systems that we had mentioned and talked about, and I kind of wanted to explore them a little bit more. But I agree. I think especially with how we can upgrade, maybe putting more things into the frame incentive as we've talked about. I think I agree. Like the upgrading is probably too much work, too much effort.
By the way, one more thing. I forget we didn't put it, but what about the again? I also feel like this one is like higher scope than the other two, so maybe like a post launch thing or whatever. But the idea of like the gadgets or like the upgrades for the fighters, or like, you know, like the runes, like hey, all of brawler attacks now do 1 more damage, all of whatever, and then you can just like basically like customize how you make your character, you know.
Yeah, I think
like an equipment thing. Yeah. But this is higher scope obviously than the other one because it's also a menu. You have to set it up. You have to like, you know, all this stuff. I'm not saying we should go for it, but I just want to document it.
Yeah,
I would like to. Sorry, go ahead.
I think this is an interesting system. I should have wrote more about that. I think that has an idea. I also think maybe something for post ship, something with this system though, and maybe necessarily pre-round choice, but not the others, is they tie into potential monetization a little bit better as like things that people could unlock or buy, whereas like the other systems don't really have anything on that front. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say, Yagi?
Yeah, Yagi, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for the equipment thing, for like more customization of the character, we should jot it down, but we can revisit it because it could be that with the tech card and the ultimate, that might fill that void, or it could be that we just improve the frame incentive to have like more options in there or make them stronger or something like that. Because that way it's like less systems, but it still solves the kind of that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely don't want like all of we don't want everything in all at once. Like I agree. So yeah,
but
I think
while we're
it's good to
things
note down.
I mean, one thing that I wanted to explore as well was having different decks. So like you could swap out an option deck to have true. Has more advancing blocks but less blocks overall, or like a different kind of pressure deck.
I like that too as well.
So it would be as complicated as equipment probably, except even more maybe from designing new cards. But
yeah, I mean, I think at the very least, like you could even just do it by like hard counts, maybe as an initial implementation, which would probably be a lot easier.
Yeah, you could just have like the bob and weave, version of pressure, which has a lot more, or more back pedals and less advancing, and then more rush downy kind of hits that are just on card count. Yeah.
Currently, a lot of decks are like 12 and 12 roughly, so like we could even just have like a offensive or defensive one where it's it's like 10 and 20 or 20 and 10 kind of distribution between cards, and then ones that have it has like more blocks and versus more movements, or this one has more jabs and uppercuts, right? Because you want to just try to land that stuff. Yeah, write some more about that as well. I think that could help too with alleviating people who talk about wanting to do more deck building. It could be broken up, as Brian said, to like per pressure deck, per option deck, or it could just be like a whole package you're picking, right? Where it's like
the only problem I see with it though is, imagine we only change numbers of cards, right? It definitely increases the complexity to, like, sorry, it increases the amount of like information you need to know about your opponent, right? Because like, oh, now I don't only have to know that he has used brawler. He's using brawler with this pressure set and this option set, so I need to know.
Yes.
It's more information that you need to know about, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, from a card game perspective, that's completely normal, right? You don't know what 30 cards or 40 cards someone has in their deck necessarily, but as you play more, you kind of get an idea of like, oh, these are the kind of meta cards or whatever, right? I think if it's the same cards, that helps with that problem as well then, right? Like, there's not this deck doesn't have a different
card count.
Yeah, this deck that has, you know, like some of these, like on here, like I wrote this one where it's like a charge that pushes people. If it hits the wall, it does extra damage. And Mickey mentioned this would be more interesting as like a core move instead of like a tech card. So like, you know, maybe something like the aggressive deck has like this in it instead. But yeah, for the beginning, just altering card counts I think could be interesting. And that's like good data on our side too, right? Like,
but it can also be mitigated in game, right? Like the deck thing that you're saying, like there, you can show like an opponent deck here, or you can just click it, and they say like, here's what their deck is, not what they played or anything, right? But like, as soon as you say like, oh, you don't remember, cool, click here, and then you'll see the whole information about this deck. Okay, does someone else have opinions? Yagi, you have your opinion? Or do you already say? Oh, you already said your thing, I guess. Stan?
Yeah, sorry. Just really quick for this alternate decks thing, maybe we could also like put in average number of like movement per in the like entire deck as like a quick stat sort of thing. So rather than people needing to remember, oh, like, you know, it has exactly these many like advancing blow cards, it's sort of like, oh, this deck is more movement heavy, or, you know, has higher average damage but lower but also higher average like multi-frame cards that don't do damage. You know what I mean? Like,
what we could do to simplify is get those numbers ourselves, but then have a range, like, oh, if it's between 10 and, like, for example, like total number of damage. If it's between 50 and 80, we say high damage. If not, if we say medium damage, right? We can like just give them like a.
I think we would just call them like archetypes if we show what we show to the player.
Yeah.
And it would, you know, I want the aggressive version or the defensive version, or that kind of thing.
But I feel like if we give them like specific numbers, like, oh, this one has exactly 13 moves, and, you know, like movement tiles in general, and 28 potential damage. I don't know if that's as useful as just giving like a word.
Yeah, I think it should be viewable, like, you know, in the same place where you could like click a fighter and you can like view their whole deck. You know, the other deck options would probably be there as well. And this is also something that can be monetized if we want.
Yeah. Again, I feel like a lot of these gameplay things, we always want to have the premium / in-game currency split. So
yeah.
If you want to unlock it, play a lot, or buy it, right? Again, I feel like the League did a good job with that, because you had to play a lot to get, especially when it was new characters. I think I actually like that idea as well, where it's like, as characters get older, you can like give discounts or, you know, like just decrease their price, and then the new one is always the most expensive one, and then eventually you get up with like a tier.
This is kind of like Brawl Stars, right?
Is it?
The equipment
Oh yeah,
thing?
yeah. Yes, it is. And again, what the thing with Brawl Stars as well like that is that technically you don't. It's not monetized that you can buy it. It's just like to unlock it, you need to like spend coins. So it's like, well, you buy coins to unlock it, because you right now, for example, I have a character that I have the level to buy a thing, but it's 2,000 coins. I don't know how. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to wait.
Yeah.
That's how you can, like,
but can you skip that with paying if you need to or want to, or no?
Yeah, no point. You can buy the coins.
Okay, I see. But then you earn the coins from playing
to buy the
matches, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like you don't have to like very specifically say like, oh, you buy this slot. So it's more like, oh, I love this slot for 1,000 coins, which you earn by playing or by pay.
Yeah.
Just the interaction, I think, is
And they're all like
easier.
passives, right?
No, some of them are active.
Oh, okay.
Some are passive, and then you have like one ability that you do on like one ultimate thing, like oh, add a shield.
Would we show those on the HUD in game? Like which equipment you have posted?
Yeah, probably. Like
Yeah,
maybe,
there's,
around the little fighter thing somewhere. There.
Yeah. So like we would need icons for like each type of equipment, but that's it. We wouldn't need a model or like anything
Yeah, it
else,
would just be icons.
and we would reuse it.
Again, the harder part about this is the menu to like equip and unequip and select and all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
The
think it
people will want
would be.
templates and they'll want images.
Yeah, I don't think that would be too bad of a menu to make. I mean, you basically just have like a little inventory page and then like equipment, like empty slots like above it, right? And you could just drag and drop or whatever, tap equip type
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
More, that's the hardest part, and it's not. Too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think showing the icons and having them be like hoverable would probably be pretty relevant. Like, you know, they essentially need tooltips.
Wait, so what are the bonuses like? What?
Oh, just saying, for example, like oh, all of like brawler, all your attacks do +1 damage, for example.
So
Man.
so passive stuff like more health or things like
Yeah.
that, I guess.
That
Like oh, you
seems
have one more range.
Strong.
Well, that's an example. You know.
We should start figuring out like here's the cool like ideas to revisit, and then figure out, because I feel like we have time for maybe one thing, right? If we have to basically pick it, and before so if we say like, hey, the tech card or something like that, we won't really have time to go and explore other things. We should start kind of narrowing in on that side.
I mean, if it's a single one, I would say Super Bowl. That's my vote.
Yeah, we should. We can. I mean, maybe not in this meeting. Like, let people think about it or something, right? But in our next, or I don't know, in another meeting, like,
no,
next week or something,
Slack.
we can.
Let's make a poll in Slack. Then.
Okay. Can you just like add a poll easily, or how do
Oh, the emoji poll.
I emoji poll?
We can even make the
Oh,
poll
on
in
Discord?
if you wanted.
Yeah. I'm down to open it up to community people.
What are you trying to post?
I mean, yes and no.
We'll take it with a
but
grain
I
of
think-
salt, obviously, but
Yeah, that's my point. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
would
like,
you
we
poll-
can just
see what they
completely
say,
ignore
but-
what they say. But I think it's interesting to gauge some
No,
interest.
that's my point. Yeah, same with the cards, right? Like, I like sharing the stuff with the community so that they can tell me an idea. And so far, they've picked what we all like. But sometimes, like, we have like an idea in the back of our head, like why one is better than the other, or like
Yeah.
so having veto power helps for sure.
Well, yeah. It's
They don't
not
have a lot of context, and it's just cursory gut feelings, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. It's collecting feedback more than like tell us what you want,
yeah.
and we will do it, right? So like there's a going back and forth between, because also too they probably want input, but then defer to like years of experience. Like we also are thinking about it every day, but it's like they probably want to be heard. And then too, if it's like, well, it's overwhelmingly this one where we thought it was too. If it's like super lopsided, then that's good information for us too. Or if they all
Yeah.
like pick someone, yeah.
Wait, what's
I
the
think it's
specific
pretty
poll?
good.
What do you want to specifically poll?
Basically,
which of
like
the
ultimate
mechanics
bars,
I mean,
pre-round choice, equipment, alternate decks. Probably is like the
the problem is how do
four.
we keep
Like
the
what they
context?
care about the most?
Because they can watch.
Yeah,
it on
it's hard to
podcast.
pitch it, but
I
we
see,
can
okay.
reference this meeting. Yeah, at least the stream VOD, and then
Yeah.
maybe
Well, we
write a
shouldn't
shorter
we
blurb
shouldn't-
about each one.
We shouldn't poll for the ones we can't do. Like we can't do the alternative decks. I don't think.
Yeah.
Why
Well,
can't?
if
Yeah.
we change the only number of cards, we can.
Wait, isn't that like higher scope?
No, all
Oh,
you do
this
is you
one
have
feels like
No.
It's the exact same number of cards. You just say like, this one has 3 blocks, this one has 1 block, but more movement cards. But it's the same cards. We just changed the number of each copy of the card in your deck.
oh.
Or we say, hey, you have a deck with Brawler that has 12 pressure cards and 12 option cards, but then this other deck has 14 pressure cards and 10 option cards. So you have less options, but more pressure, so you're more aggressive.
Nice.
Oh, I did that
I'm
math
Again,
wrong.
changing deck numbers is super easy. Like that's not
Like
Yeah, okay,
16,
okay. That's
8.
gonna. Yeah, I feel like alternate decks makes it sound like it's like, oh, this one's gonna have like these types of cards. These ones are gonna have completely different
No.
like effects and styles. And when
Eventually,
we do the
maybe.
poll, like that one would get overwhelmingly the
Yeah.
positive because I think people would misconstrue that.
Yeah, no, I would say if we do the alternate decks, we either split it in like actually full different decks, or we say like, oh, we just changed the proportion of cards. I think the proportion of cards is doable. The other one, 100%, no.
Yeah, but the proportion of cards isn't. Yeah, if we say that's what it's gonna be, we should in the poll say, oh, different card proportions or something like that.
Card,
Yeah,
just
in
card
general, though-
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, though, we shouldn't be like it will never be as open as, oh, you can actually pick your thing and just have to like pick 40, because balancing wise, that's hard. Like we want to control the balance, and that's what we're trying to do for a long time. So.
I mean, I don't think it's that like crazy, but it's just it's a lot of work. Like a whole card editor is a lot of work, and yeah, it is a whole balancing thing. It's not necessarily what we like set out to do and we're prepared for. I mean, if cards were limited to like 3 ofs and then we allowed people to do it, like it could be something eventually like, oh, you know, a season like thing we allow and then we take away. And as I mentioned before, all these things I think like if the ones we don't do, I think they are interesting things we could explore on like a future season. Like, oh, we, you know, here's season 3, we now have like alternate decks you can choose from.
Yeah, I love. To be fair, I've been playing Brawl Stars since we talked about it, and I love how they have like 4 or 5 events that just rotate all day, every day, and then you play different things. Obviously, they have the critical mass of people to be able to split their community that much. We obviously don't want to do that initially.
Yeah.
But
I think it would still always be like one mode, right?
Yeah,
These are just things on top of it. For at least
one
for
or
us.
2, you know, like the main regular one, and then like the funny one, but a single one, because we don't want to split the community.
Yeah, sure. But like something like this would be like a whole game-wide like forced change essentially. Like
that's cool.
And then we could take them back and like we could, you know, say we do alternate decks one season and we realize like, oh, we see, you know, people are playing brawler and they always pick like the aggressive one, right? And then people play poisoner and they always pick like the defense, or like we, you know, we get stats on that, and then when, you know, the season ends and we take away the system, maybe we use that to help make adjustments to their base decks to make them more you know, interesting for the future. So I think it can be useful for getting information and keeping it fun, keeping the game changing. Cool. Yeah, I think that this went great. This was it's 11 o'clock now.
Are there any questions in chat?
Nah, people just been saying hi. Hi, chat.
When we do things like we put up links for, you can always just dump them in chat too, so people are interested. They'll be like, oh, what was the link that the article that they were reading?
Oh yeah, the one at the top. This one.
Yeah, exactly.
We could make this. Can we make like one specific page public? I don't know if we want.
We can, but that's gonna be hard to maintain and stuff because we don't know if like we end up putting stuff there. I don't know. But the way to do that's at the top right. You just say share and then.
Like if we were to have a poll about this stuff, would we want to reference this page at all, or should we just
I feel like
kind
you'd
of
make a
simplified?
copy, like a copy and a simplified page, and share that one out.
Just make like a high level page for each one. Yeah. These are just jots.
We understand. Yeah, we understand what's going on, but.
Yeah, the only thing that's a lot of work for people, right? Because they have to click out of Discord to do it. Whereas if we just did a TLDR like 1, 2, 3.
True. Yep.
They don't have to leave Discord.
Well, we could write it in Notion, like could have a Notion page, and then we paste that into the thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think even if we want to share some design documents, we probably would want to like make a simplified Notion page that's like. But we're not doing that yet, so it doesn't matter.
Cool. Anyone having more thoughts or whatever's? Funny sound effects.
You can change your Slack to when you get a message where it goes boing, and
Hey, don't reveal my secrets.
it
Oh,
would sound
really
hilarious.
now?
Boing, boing, boing.
I'm on my phone, so.
Darn it.
Hey.
Alright. Well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, that was a good one. When do we want to decide by? If that was
Probably by the
gonna
end of the
be,
month.
Yeah,
we
the
haven't
one-
talked about feasibility of it too, right? That's
Yeah.
the big thing is going to be. This one sounds the best, and then we have to like talk about like, okay, well, we actually have to look at the timeline and figure out
I mean, we could use
how
like
fast we want.
next week's like architecture time. I mean, that's kind of related, where we discuss scope or something. Or I don't know, we could wait till like.
You're sharing your
uh,
calendar, by the way. I don't know if you mean to be doing
yeah.
that.
That's fine. We could wait till we could talk about it during like planning in 2 weeks if we want. Like let people think about it or whatever. I don't know.
You know, I was gonna say like we can, because I think we need to like nail it like.
We need to
narrow
set
it
a
down to,
separate
like,
time
two.
to like do it.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is like if we narrow it down to 2, then we can be like, okay, let's actually sit down and like discuss everything that is involved. Like again, super bar. Oh, we need the art for the super bar. We need the thing. We need actually,
Yeah.
you know, like, all that kind of stuff.
We can kind of rank them too in like scope and art needs and everything. I think like this one is pretty low scope. The hardest stuff is like
Ish, because the super bar is a single card. This is like 1 to 3 cards.
Well,
yeah.
there's also we need like a custom animation for it as well,
Yeah.
right? That's like a new
That's the thing,
animation.
we-
Well,
yeah, that's the
both
point.
of these we're gonna need animations, which is
Yeah, but 1 animation as opposed to 3, and then 3 cards,
Yes.
3 animations, 3 everything. That's what I'm
this
saying. Like
is
super bar is
true.
a little bit smaller.
I mean, if some of these are like the pre-round choice ones are like this, like it could just play the block animation, like at least until we, right? Or like this could just play like the buff animation. You know, we don't necessarily need custom animations to
With
like
bigger
actually
VFX.
do to try it, right? And test it. But
Yeah,
as like a
VFX
long-term
also.
goal.
Make bigger VFX on those.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I like something like the signature card to like wherever that was down here. Like this stuff, like you know, we wouldn't necessarily need a whole new animation for it. Like we could just do it through effects. It would play like the same uppercut.
Yeah. As long as I don't have
This
to do
one
it.
has a lot more. I think the VFX for like the bar and all the bar and logic and like you know making it look cool, feel good. There's a lot of feedback related to it. This one's decently high scope, but I think it's pretty good gain as well. This one's kind of like high scope, high value. I'd say this one's like lower scope, like medium value, or I don't know. Yeah, we can like assess them all like that.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to lock down when we're doing that meeting then? Do we want to do it next week, or do we want to wait till like at the start of like October? Or do it sooner than later?
I think sooner because October I'm gonna be out, and I think I'm gonna be out when we come back for that. So yes.
Okay, I think Jason's gonna be out too at some point in around October.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
could
he's
do
out
it.
after me.
We could do it next week's design meeting, or
Sure.
Tuesday's
sure.
architecture
Next week,
sync.
yeah. Next week's is fun. Next week design meeting. Let's still like do the polls and even. I
Yeah.
still think though we should have like an internal one because I want to see what everyone in our team thinks.
Okay, so let me just do action.
Yeah, do like a Slack
to
one,
do.
yes.
Action. What?
We can do a checkbox.
Checkbox. Okay. Where's that? To-do list. Internal poll. Discord.
poll.
External poll. Discuss in what is that? 9:22 or finalize at 9:22 design meeting. Thanks for coming, Brian. I need to, let's see, where'd it go? Right, better, high level concepts. Is that basically it? Is that good?
Yep.
Alright. Sweet.
Nice. One thing real quick. Next time when we do the design sync, I think we can do it in the Discord on the Discord stage and stream from there. That way people in the Discord have direct access and we can potentially reach people on our live streams as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
I can do both, right?
Yeah, you can just stream the stage.
Yeah,
So instead
it's
of
just
using-
Discord streaming, right? Or is there something special? Like just screen
No,
share?
it'll be just like this, but instead of Google Meet, we're just using the Discord channel.
Oh, okay.
Stage.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Not so like they can actually join the call or what?
They can join as a listener. It's like a Twitter space.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, and all the admins will be up on stage, and we can talk, and they can only listen, but they can also raise a hand, and we can like pull them up on stage, and they can ask a question live.
Okay. So I'll try to. Yeah, that sounds good. So let's see. Finalize at Zoom meeting. What is it called? Discord
Stage.
Use
Yeah.
Discord stage. We'll say like this poll, like maybe try to have it up. The Discord poll, like try to have it up next week, like early next week. Up on what is it, the 18th, and then have it run for like 2 weeks maybe.
I guess so. I think people will probably it'll get
I feel
lost
like
in the chat. So.
Is that too long?
Yeah.
Okay.
Forever.
But
Well,
we can pin.
I mean, do you think it's
We
enough
can just
time
leave
if
it
it's
up.
just
It's
up for the
gonna be-
week?
It'll probably be like a reaction poll, right?
Do you think it's
Yeah.
enough time for it to, well, like, because if we're finalizing it like next Friday, like then it's only up for like a week. Is that fine?
That's fine.
I think
Yeah,
people
the
only look
decision's
at it
ours.
for
Yeah, then we'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, it's more to gauge like people's interesting things, because I might sway our decision, but in general, the decision is going to be ours, as in viability and feasibility. And
Should I just add like an internal poll to this page somewhere that people can write, or what? How do we do
no,
the
we'll
internal
do it on
poll?
Slack. We'll do it on
Oh,
Slack.
okay, sure. Internal poll on Slack. Okay. Sweet. Sounds good. Thanks everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Go
Yeah.
pet a duck.
Oh.
Did you say go pet a dog?
A duck.
Oh.
I tried to pet my friend's pet duck and I got bit.
Friends, what the fuck?
Whoa, it's no longer Kuka Kente. Go.